So our next speaker, I got to put the cheaters on, I'm getting old, is Dr. Jeff May. I just met him a few minutes ago, and he's a very nice guy. He grew up in rural Nebraska, where he enjoyed long days in the hayfield, farm pond fishing, and roping in rodeos on the weekend. It was there that his parents instilled in him three things: pray, focus, and work hard. To this day, he still gives these three habits credit to his success. Nearly a decade later, and over 100,000 patient visits, he is more passionate than ever before about helping people live life with the advantage. Please help me welcome Dr. Jeff May.
Anna, wait, it's over there.
This way?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, no, back over here.
This way, this way.
Yeah, this is called a microphone. It's called a microphone.
We didn't go over this.
Oh, I told you to be here 15 minutes early.
No, you said there'd be slides.
Didn't you bring them with you?
No, I didn't bring slides.
Well, then you gotta...
Well, I got one slide.
What is it?
Do you like it?
Well, it's a start.
Do you like it?
I love it.
Good, because that's the only slide I have.
Wonderful. Let's hear your rodeo stories.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that, Barb. Hey, guys, how's it going? How was the day so far? All right. So a few things you need to know about me is that I will not be standing behind a podium. It absolutely drives me nuts, and I actually asked to move it, but it's bolted down. So I know I CrossFit, but that's a little bit more than my PR. So that's not going to happen today. But I truly want to thank you guys for having me out here. And actually, I want to thank Joy. I know she's out there in the crowd. She's running around. Let's give it up for Joy. Seriously, all the things she's been doing. How many parents are out there? How many of you guys have kids? By a show of hands. There you go. So you know that dealing with adults is way harder, right? This was literally like herding cats for her, getting them in there, trying to make them swim. So thank you, Joy, for all you've done. So I want to introduce, a few things about me that I think are going to be pertinent to today. And I promise you this, today's talk is going to be absolutely nothing like most of your speakers. And hopefully that's going to be a good thing, because I didn't come here to share with you a lot of information. Truly, I wanted to share with you some inspiration. And talking across the country over the last few years and being blessed enough to be able to do these things is that I know in the Midwest, and I know at the end of the day, it's going to be two factors against me to have any crowd interaction, right? I mean, how many of you guys are just here because you're ready for karaoke? And be honest. Okay, a few of you. So realize that the more interaction there is, the funner this is going to be. I always say this is like a middle school dance, where the boys are over here, right? And the girls are over here. And we all realize that the dance would be a lot more fun, like here, So let's not make this like a middle school dance. So as we kick this off, a few things about me. I love Jesus, my smoking hot wife, and every day I wake up to make a difference in the world and truly go to bed better than when I woke up. And as I've gotten going through life, I want to take as many people with me through that journey. And I guess as I say that, not as many people with me through that journey, like come to bed, like let's all go sleep. But what I'm saying is that I think every morning that we wake up, we should have a distinct goal of being better when we go to bed. Can you guys agree with that? So here's the cool part. Let's not complicate this. 1% a day. 1% better, and yes, you can. I will have, if I even think I hear any of your thoughts thinking I can't get better each day, I will have you come up here. We will do some form of public shame and embarrassment. You just don't want that. Like, it's never good for you. It's going to be hilarious for everybody else. So, and by the way, stop pointing at your neighbor over there. We're not bringing her up, okay? We're not going to do that. Just kidding. Got you. All right. So today I want to share with you one of my all-time favorite stories. And I'm going to use this story to illustrate some really, really key points. And I know as you all work together and utilize your skills, your gifts, your abilities to accomplish a goal as a company, I'm here not to talk to you as a company. I'm truly here to talk to you as individuals. Because for the next hour or shorter, what? He might go shorter? He might not go long. Yes, I might go shorter. Who knows? I like the interaction, so it's already, this side's winning. I might spend a little more time over here. Just saying. Do you guys like this? My wife picked it out. Does this look okay? Yeah. She's way hot. Did I mention I have 4 kids? That's why. She's really cute. Yeah, I always got to give her a shout out. So The story I want to tell is most of you will know the story for sure. And like I said, it's my all-time favorite story. And how many of you, by a show of hands, know the story of David and Goliath? There you go. And you can probably remember back when you think about David and Goliath, you remember this little shepherd boy, and he was all brave, and he went and he killed the big bad giant. And it was probably at Sunday school one day where he had the velvet like pictogram stuff. Do you guys remember that? The storyboards, it's like slap it up there, stick it up there, all those things. And so we have that version, and that's not going to be the version I share with you because that's really short, and karaoke is not ready yet. I did check. So what I do want to share with you is that in that story, there are some amazing things that if you grasp on even one of them, I promise you this, and I make no qualms about it, it will change your life. So I'm going to set the bar real high today, and we're all going to clear that thing together. Is that okay? Cool. I love this. So picture this. Picture yourself as David, and you're sitting there and you're watching your sheep, you're playing your harp. It's a beautiful day. Kind of reminds me about growing up in Nebraska in the hayfield. You know, the breeze is blowing, high humidity, all of those great things. And your dad comes along and he says, hey, by the way, I need you to take lunch down to your brother's. It's like, cool, Dad, I got it. Hey, he talks to his friend, watch the sheep. And so as he grabs the cheese and grabs the bread, he goes down there to the battlefield. Now at this time, there's two armies. There's the Philistine army and the Israelite army. And if you picture it, it's a valley. It's the valley of Elah, and there's one army on one side and one army on the other, and they're at a standstill. Just in any good army tactics, the army that's going to go down into the valley first is going to be vulnerable, and so they're probably going to lose. And so they're sitting there, and they're just yelling at each other, basically, this whole time. And so as we know the story, Goliath, he's a champion. He's been a warrior since he was in his youth. And he's sitting there, and for 40 days and 40 nights, he's coming out there, and what he's doing is he's talking smack. That's all he's doing. And so he comes out every day, and it says the Israelites are scared, and they're shaking in their armor, and nobody's going to fight them because one battle, they decided instead of letting the armies go at it, let's just have one battle between our best men, and then whoever wins, the opposing army, you're going to be our slaves for the rest of your life. So there's a lot at stake here. There's a lot on the line. And I didn't wear it today because I told a special person and a patient of mine who gave me this bracelet that I was going to wear it for her. But I usually wear when I'm in the office, down the road in Jordan. How many of you guys know where Jordan's at? It's a huge metropolis. I'm surprised you haven't heard of it. I mean, it's a really big place. It's a big deal. But in Jordan, and I'll wear this bracelet, and on the back of it, it says WAS. And it stands for What's at Stake. I want to encourage you guys today, one of the first things you should do when you wake up is ask yourself, what's at stake? When you go into the office, what's at stake? When you're spending time with your children, when you're spending time with your loved ones, what's at stake? Because there's time is the one thing that we don't get back. Like literally, I hope you guys don't send in comments to Joy. It'd look really bad on her because I don't have to see you guys again for the most part, but that you could get this hour back, right? We can't get this hour back. So I promise we got to give this massive value. And you can all tell your friends and your loved ones when you left today and they ask you, well, how was it? My goal is for you to look them in the eye and tell them, listen, this was one of the first times I ever went to a casino and left with more value than I went with, right? I mean, think about it. I mean, I've been there. The house usually wins. I mean, I'm just saying. So David goes down. And he's taking this down, and he enters in to where the encampment is. And so he's hanging out, and his brothers are there, and I can see him come up, and he's like, hey, big brother, what's up? Are you hungry? Like, here's your lunch, and all these things. And so he's delivering it, and all of a sudden, it's when Goliath was coming out, and he hears Goliath's smack talk. And he's looking around, and all of a sudden he's like, okay, did he really just say he came to defile the armies of the living God? Like, can he say that? Like, is that cool? And David, like, historically at the time, they say he's about 15 or 16. So not old enough to go out there and play blackjack, can't order a beer, probably doesn't have his driver's license. Like, we got to understand the context of where he's at. And yet he's saying, and this was not, by the way, sidebar, was not on the velvet pictogram at Sunday school, but he said, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? I promise you that was not, and if it was, we don't need to talk about it. So come back over here. So as he goes down there, he's like, who is this dude? Like, what's going to happen to the person that takes him out? And I love this. There's so many metaphors and analogies in this, but someone looks at him and he says, well, here's what's going to happen. You're going to be rich beyond your wildest dreams. David's like, hey, that's a pretty good deal. I like that. And he goes, you get to marry the king's daughter. Are you kidding me? The king's daughter? Like, she's almost as smoking hot as Dr. Jeff's wife. Like, she's got it going on. Yeah, true story. And the third thing is that your house is going to be free of taxes. You'll be tax exempt. Now, I realize that April 15th was not too long ago. So we're talking a pretty good deal. How many of you guys can feel that? Tax exempt? I mean, come on. Okay, for those of you who love paying taxes, keep going. Keep doing it. So David's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Like, I get all those things, like for taking out the giant, like bring it on. I got this. I'll do it. His brothers look at him and be like, okay, Sparky, sit down. Like, stop it. You're gonna embarrass us. Go back to the sheep. So David's talking. Now we're talking literally thousands of men. And here's one of the first points I want to give you guys and how important this is that David's word, okay, and David was talking about Goliath. His word got all the way up to King Saul. And King Saul sent for him. Here's what I want you guys to know, is that your word will either carry you to the palace or it'll carry you to the pit. Your word will either carry you to the palace or it'll carry you to the pit. And here's what I mean by this. What you say is powerful. Your word. How many of you guys know, and if you're sitting by them, just look down. But how many of you guys have those friends on Facebook? And it's like every single time you get on there, it's like, oh, crud, not feeling good again today. Oh, the weather's crummy. It's gray. I was late for work. I didn't have coffee, and it was cold, and all these things. And the dog's sick. In fact, the dog puked on the cat, which scared the gerbil. Like, do you guys have those friends too, or is it just me? So, like their word, right? Their word, and sometimes I want to reach through. I just unfollow them. It's a true story. hey, let's still remain friends, but I'm going to unfollow you. But your word is powerful. Like what you speak carries weight. Individuals here, as you work together, I want to encourage you to start speaking positivity over your coworkers. Start speaking positivity over your children. Start telling them the things that you want them to become. I tell my son, so we've got 4 kids, like I've talked about, 7, 6, 3, and 1. I know. Not only is my wife smoking hot, she's an amazing human being. Like clearly I get to be here and she's hanging out with the kids. Our second one's a girl and the other 3 are boys. Thank you. I love that. I just love this group already. Like, yeah, thank you. Like they could be little like hellraisers and you'd say like, oh, like you'd have no idea. This is awesome. No, they're amazing kids. I promise you that. But each and every day, I let them know that they're brave, they're courageous, they're strong, they're athletic, they're a genius. We tell them those things. How many of you guys have ever been to a restaurant and you've had a really crummy server? Yeah, we all have. How many of you, by the way, this sidebar, have stopped eating at restaurants? A few of you. Either that or you're just so used to raising your hand at this point in the talk. I love it. So here's the thing. I remember one time I was at a restaurant and it just wasn't going well. Like you could totally see frustration in the young guy's eyes, and it was just, everything was coming out wrong, and I'm not that person. Like it's really hard at a restaurant to be like, hey, you know what? I didn't even order this, and all those things. But I realized in a moment that I had a choice, and I could either say, hey, you know what? This is wrong, and the kid's night was bad. Like it was, he knew. Like if he went home that night, it was just maybe time to throw in the towel as a server. But I remember looking at him. I was like, listen, you got this. If this is the worst thing that happens in your life today, it's not so bad. And I remember that literally there was a shift. Now, granted, the food was still wrong. It was all these things. But there was literally a moment where I looked in this guy's eyes and he was like this. Like he just took a breath. How many of you guys have seen people in your life where they just need to breathe? Yeah. So what I want you guys to do next time you see it, take action on it. Say, hey, put a hand on their shoulder. Let them know, we got this. This is the worst thing that happens today. Still a good day, right? Air in our lungs, hearts beating. It's a beautiful thing. So as we go through, I want to share, and the story, this last thing as I share with the speech. How many of you guys know before a butterfly that there was a different creature? Right? You have a butterfly, and what was it before a butterfly? Yeah, a caterpillar. How many of you guys remember in kindergarten where you got to have a kindergarten kid and the monarch butterflies, right? Did you guys do that? or just in Nebraska. We did weird things. Like, we just got the internet last week. True story. I mean, it's weird. So we were still growing butterflies. Thank you. You're welcome. I mean, you guys want to say you're welcome. That's all the monarchs come from Nebraska in kindergarten classes. No, I'm just joking. But I remember this when we were in kindergarten. It was Miss Evans' class. And these things, these worms and the big green caterpillars, and they were lurking around the cage. And then all of a sudden we came in one morning and they're in a cocoon. What I didn't realize at the time, that the cocoon is actually produced out of the mouth of the caterpillar. Think about this. The caterpillar, out of its mouth, produces an environment that allows transformation, allows metamorphosis. What are we speaking? What are we speaking around us? How many times do we walk in an area and you don't have to ask if they're having a good or a bad day? You just feel it, you know it, you hear it. Out of your mouth will take you either to the palace or to the pit. So David's sitting there and he's in front of the king, and he's sitting there and he's like, yeah, listen, I'm going to take this dude out. This is ridiculous. I can't believe anybody hasn't stepped up at this point. But remember all those things. And hey, by the way, winks at his daughter. You're going to be my wife. Like, that's David's attitude. So he comes into this thing, and Saul's like, no way were you the kid that was talking about this. Like, we need a man. Goliath's out there talking trash for 40 days, 40 nights, saying, send me a man. I can't send in this little kid. Now, what transpires, I have no idea how much certainty it takes to change the mind of a king, but I'm willing to bet it takes a lot. So David looks at him and goes, listen, I've been a shepherd, and when a bear or a lion would come after and take a sheep, like, I literally would go and take them out. Like, I'd go chase them down and kill them. And if that bear or lion would turn on me, I grabbed him by the scruff of the neck and I killed him with my bare hands. He must have been so convincing, because in an instant, the king's trying to suit him up with his own armor. Like, think about that. Like, how much confidence and certainty was it? I've never been to, anybody in here been to shepherd school? Okay, I'm making sure, because I don't know. I don't want, like, if you were, you could come on up and we could figure this out. But I'm pretty sure in shepherd school, there isn't like giant killing 101. There's just not. That doesn't even make sense to me. But yet the confidence and certainty that David carried in his speech, in his spoken word, had the king saying, well, I'm looking at you. I mean, you kind of look quick. Maybe you can, I don't know, delay him from like grabbing you and squeezing the life out of you. Let's just do this. Hey, so I feel better as a king. I'm going to go, hold on, you stay there. I got something for you. And so he takes his armor, and Saul walks over and he's like, okay, here, at least I'll feel better. Like, I won't look like a terrible king by letting you just go out there and get slaughtered. I'm going to try and cover this up and say, okay, here, at least now you have armor. And what does David do with it? Who knows? He gets rid of it. He goes, I can't wear this. Are you kidding me? Like, not only does it not fit, but he goes, I haven't tested it. Like, I haven't tested this. This isn't me. It doesn't fit me. Point number 3, never let anyone put something on you that doesn't complement what's already inside of you. Never let anybody put anything on you that doesn't complement what's inside of you. See, self-awareness is one of the greatest skills on the planet. All of you. Like, I've got to hang out kind of in the back, and it was so fun. Where's the group of ladies I just told to skip? Maybe they skipped. Okay, there's a few. Okay, hey, how's it going? Hey, how are you guys? I'm glad you didn't take, it was fun. But a lot of times when I go and I speak, I'll go by and I'll be like, yeah, this next guy's terrible. Like, just forget it. Don't even think about it. Like, you should go straight to karaoke. That's what I was telling people. And it was so much fun to see their reaction. And they caught on pretty quick. But so many times, I don't know where I was going with it. That was just fun. But self-awareness, like knowing yourself, knowing your gifts and your talents. You guys are cool people. Like, at least I haven't met the uncool people yet. I hope to afterwards. And then we'll speak some good life into you, and then you'll be cool again. But seriously, like, you all have gifts and talents and purposes. Like, knowing your strengths, playing to them, reaching out to that coworker, reaching out to that person that you know you have a skill set that can directly help them. Simple question. If you play to your strengths more to your weaknesses and use that in a group setting, are things going to be better or worse? Better, absolutely. And remember, when you wake up in the morning, what are you now making a commitment to? Being better or worse? Better. So stop self-sabotaging. I'll come back to that in a minute. So we go through this, and David knew who he was. And he said, I have not tested it. You see, how many of you guys have heard the quote, you have to be in the right place at the right time. You guys have heard that too. It's totally wrong. At least I say it's wrong, because I'm the guy with the mic, and you have to believe the guy with the mic in the one slide. Like, that's a rule, okay? If you turn to the back, you guys have all your little pamphlets and agendas. Turn to the back. It's really small written in the last page. The guy with the mic and the one slide you have to agree with. Like, it's just how it is. Thank you, Joy. I'm so glad we got that one in the handbook. But no, as it goes through, it's not whether you're going to be in the right place at the right time. Truly, what I want to challenge you is, are you going to be the right person when your time arrives? You see, the daily diligence of David, there's a lot of D words. I didn't plan that. Listen, you know I'm from Nebraska. I don't rap, so that was just, thank you, Lord. That was truly divine. But the daily diligence of David prepared him for his greatest spotlight. Remember, there wasn't giant killing 101 at Shepherd School. But he was out there being diligent in his strengths, knowing who he was, learning about himself. And it prepared him when he was there to deliver lunch to take responsibility of someone else's problem. Do you know what great leaders do? They take responsibility. How many of you in here right now can think of somebody in this room that's a great leader because they take responsibility? There you go. Look at the hands around you guys. This is how I know it's a strong company. I love this. Because here's the thing. I tell my sons and my daughter, I tell them all the time, listen, leaders take responsibility. You know, when they're going through and we go through the end of the day, and how many of you guys feel literally like you're picking up your house all the time? I mean, that's me. And if you're not, I want you to come to my house and show me your ways and show me your secrets. But here's the thing. I love when I go to my son, Bennett, and he's the oldest. I'm like, hey, Bennett, will you just take 5 minutes before dinner and clean up the toys from your little brother? And what's their normal reaction if you ask them to clean up something that wasn't theirs? Cool, you guys' kids are awesome too. I love this. But yeah, they say, well, that's not mine. Like, that's not mine. And I always respond, I was like, funny, I didn't ask whose it was. But leaders take responsibility. And so understanding that when David came down there and he took responsibility for a problem that wasn't his, he may have carried bread and cheese down to the battlefield, but it's what he spoke that prepared him for the next battle. And it was all the days leading up to it. So what are you doing day in, day out? Let's talk health. You know, I am a chiropractor. No, I'm not going to talk chiropractic, okay? Although I could talk health. The amazing thing is that your health today, as it stands, is still something that you have a radical impact over. Your choices matter. Your choices that you've made your entire life have produced your results, no matter if it's your health, your finance, your business, your relationships, where we are today. So I'm here to tell you, if you're not happy with it, good. Look at the facts. If there's something you want to change, good. You have that power. You have that choice. You don't have to write a letter to someone. You don't have to ask some governing body. You do not need permission. And for those of you who feel you need permission, I'm here today to give you permission. You can make changes in your life. Like, you have that ability. So David's there. He says, forget this. I'm not wearing your armor. I know who I am. I prepared for this day. Reaches down and he picks up 5 smooth stones. And here's the cool thing also with the armor. I promised Joy there would be some rodeo-ish story. So that's what I did. I grew up in Nebraska. I thought I was going to be a professional calf roper my entire life. True story. That didn't work out. Okay, so I'm here. And this was my backup plan. Worked out. I know. Either I'm going to come over this way. I'm like a moth to flames. I'm attracted to sound. I don't know what it is. But I remember growing up, thinking I was going to be this rodeo star and doing all this stuff. And when you think about David and the armor and how it just didn't match up, think of your life. This is a cool thing. I want you guys, for those of you who are taking notes, draw a square and don't close it off, kind of like you leave a little gap like a door. Picture this square as your life. So anything that goes in and out of this square is now in your life. It's called the doorman principle. How many of you have ever heard of it? Oh, I'm going to sound really smart today. This is going to be a good day. Here we go. So the doorman principle. It's not mine. Okay, I heard it from someone else. Most of the time when people are speaking about stuff, it's not their original material anyway, so let's just get that out of the way. It's right below in the handbook about how you have to agree with the guy with the microphone in the one slide. It's right underneath, even smaller print. True story. Thank you, Joy. So when you think about it, totally lost my train, but not, it was so funny I lost my space. Like, now we got to stand. Now this is awkward. Are you guys okay? Are you sure? Because it's kind of awkward up here. All right, keep going. I haven't lost anybody. Is it okay so far? Okay, I like that. Thank you. I like to ask feedback in the middle of it. Well, wow. What? Are you kidding me? Whew. They're winning. I'm sorry, you guys. You're all really, really attractive, so we got to go off sound. Like, that's just how we go. But then things don't match up. So you're looking at your life, and the doorman is there, and it has a code of ethics. It has like the guest list of who's allowed in your life and who's not. And on that list are core values: honesty, integrity, trustworthiness. And the doorman sits there to serve, to send people away or let people in. And I will tell you this: when you let somebody in your life who doesn't match up with your core values, is it hard or easy to get them out of your life? It's way hard. In fact, this is why I have the donkey story. Yes, we just went there, okay? So growing up in Nebraska, I remember I was a sophomore in high school, and I worked for a guy named Duke. And if you'll never meet Duke. That's a sad thing in and of itself. So moment of silence for never meeting Duke. Moment of silence. That was almost silent, but we'll take the moment. But literally, Duke was a very, very unique human being. He never came inside, basically. He was always outdoors. He's the most hardworking person, minus my dad, that I've ever met and came in contact with. So what Duke's job basically is that I worked for him in the summers in the hayfield, and then during the winter, he helped manage about 700 head of cattle. So that's 2,800 legs. That's a lot of things to manage, okay? Cow has 4 legs, 700 times 4. Some of you guys got it. You guys must be in IT or math or something. Accounting? No, or just easy. It was easy math for me too. I know, that's as hard as it's gonna get. Stay with me. So when you go into this, he would run 700 head of cattle. And this was weird because cattle always they're pregnant or they're having babies or they were just weird, snot hanging out of their mouth. I mean, cows are a weird animal. So anyway, I remember one day, I showed up at Duke's place, and one thing about Duke, too, is I never saw him without a cigarette. Literally. I think he must have something against breathing oxygen. He hates it. So he was always smoking. And so I remember, that sidebar, I couldn't understand Duke. So, he'd tell me to do something, but he always had the cigarette hanging out of his mouth. And so it's always like this. He's always talking like this, and the thing would just wave at me. And so we came up with this thing where if I had to go mow hay in the north hayfield, at least he would point the cigarette to the north direction. Because basically all I did was mow hay. So anyway, he would point the cigarette in the right direction of the field. And then that is false. It didn't happen. Okay, I got really convicted there. That was a lie. I apologize. Okay, so back to the donkey. So I show up at his house. And I kid you not, there's this donkey. There's a donkey in his yard, tied up to this post. And I'm this is the most random thing ever. It's literally if you guys were to go out and all of a sudden an elephant is sitting outside the room. That's how weird, out of place it was. And so I was like, well, Duke, what's with the donkey? He goes, oh, some guy owed me money and we traded for this donkey. I was like, well, that was a bad deal. What does it do? And he's like, no, it just sits there. And I was like, well, this is weird. Whatever, it's your donkey. So lo and behold, Duke put this donkey in this pasture with these cows, and it was in the winter. They were feeding on these corn stalks or whatever. And a couple weeks before, so the donkey was out there, for a few months. And I remember showing up one day, and a couple weeks prior, we had this cow that was just dead. It was dead in the middle of the pasture, and no reason for it. And I'm this is really weird. Where it was coyotes, where she just foundered, all this weird stuff. Like I said, cows are weird. So apparently they just fall over and die. But we couldn't figure it out. So one morning we were out doing chores, and all of a sudden we look up in this field, and over this hill, here comes this cow, dead run. And cows aren't built to run. They are ugly. Cows are ugly creatures. Snot. You guys know when they eat, their tongue literally goes up their nose. How many of you guys have seen that? That's gross. How many of you guys are secretly wishing you could do that? Anybody? Okay, just me. Okay, that was awkward. So anyway, this cow comes bellowing. That's the term. When you describe a creature, because the sound they make. It's not a hoot, an owl, and a hoot's an adjective for having a good time. Oh my gosh, did you guys believe karaoke? That was a hoot. That's the same thing. No, a cow, you know what they describe a cow as? Bellowing. Like bellowing, like that's a cow. Like it's an ugly sound. And so this thing comes up over the hill bellowing, and snot's flying, and it's cold in the winter. And we're like, oh my God, like what's the deal? Guess who's right behind that cow? The donkey. Of all things, this donkey comes 9-0 over the hill, chasing this cow, and literally gets it to where it stops and bites it in the back of the neck and is like doing this like weird thing. I can't do it here. I signed a waiver at the front. Like I can't show you. It was weird. Just that thing you guys are picturing in your head right now. Yes, weirder. I promise. So anyway, I saw Duke come unglued. And I've seen Duke come unglued before. Like literally would throw wrenches and stuff. But like Duke came unglued. He's like, Jeff, get in the Ranger. And then like pointed the cigarette at the pickup. And so like I jump in the like 1984 Ford Ranger. So like Duke gets in and then literally like I'm right here. Like Duke is here. I'm in here. And we're in this little pickup. I wish I had more time to tell you what transpired. All right? It was the most weird, it's crazy experience. We end up chasing this donkey down, and I'm like, "What are we gonna do with the donkey?" He goes, "Well, get the shotgun." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. I didn't sign up for this. Like, on my like paycheck, like it's not like shooting donkey. I'm just not cool with it." But like literally in the seat, there's a single shot 410 behind the seats. We both leaned forward as we're driving 45 miles an hour in a cornfield after a donkey. Terrible idea. So and then it hits a fence and it does all these things. Finally, Duke says, "Okay, you drive." Yeah, that makes sense. Like, oh, now it's going to go out the gate that we've opened up and ran it by 800 times. Like, sure, because I am driving. Whatever, let's do this. So I get in there. He climbs in the back with a rope. And I'm like, what are you going to, like yelling out the window, what are you going to do? Going across the corn stalks. I mean, it's just nuts. He's like, I'm going to rope it. I'm like, okay, and then what? He goes, then I'm going to drive over the rope with the pickup and hit the brakes and stop the rope, and we're going to tie it to the bumper. We're going to drag it to another field. And I didn't have a better idea. So that's what we did. So I got out, he roped this thing, somehow roped it, tied it to a bumper. Donkeys don't lead. It was ugly. We drug this thing like literally 2 miles, got out. And then all the audacity, he goes like, when we get to where it's supposed to be, I swear it's dead. He looks at me and he goes, go untie it. And I was like, sure, let me go untie it. So I walk back there, untie this thing, and I kid you not, it was like the phoenix resurrected, and all of a sudden he like got up, shook off, did a couple hee-haws, and like went. I've never seen the donkey since. And you guys are probably thinking, what did I just hear? This is why I don't have slides, by the way. Like the donkey story, they're like, nope, no, we can't show this. I'm like, cool, I'll tell it. But here's the deal. Was the donkey supposed to be in with the cows in the first place? No. So think about your life. Who's connecting the dots? Who are my forward thinkers? When you let jackasses in your life, right? It may take a shotgun or rope from 1984 Ford Ranger, a little blood, sweat, and tears to get them out. Just remember that. Talk to your doorman. That's good. That's worth a clap. So David goes down, and he steps out on the battlefield, and there's Goliath. And Goliath looks across, and Goliath has got his shield bearer there with him, so it's kind of like a 2-on-1 deal. And he looks across, and think about Goliath. Literally, it says in the Bible, it says that he was 9 feet, 9 inches tall. That his staff was about 15 feet long, and the spearhead would have weighed about as much as a bowling ball. Picture trying to even hold up a bowling ball on an outstretched arm. Like it's insane the amount of weight. And so Goliath looks at him and he says, you know, who am I, a dog that you'd come at me with sticks? So he starts, the smack talk begins again. And he looks again and he looks at him and he goes, you don't even have a sword in your hand. You don't even have a sword in your hand. And David tells him, he goes, listen, today, on this day, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to take your sword and I'm going to cut off your head with it. And I'm going to take out your entire army. And how powerful is that? How many times do you guys know in your life and you feel that people are out to tell you what you don't have? That people are out to tell you how you're not enough? Where your insufficiencies are? Do you guys have those people in your life? You guys starting the Facebook filter yet? I encourage it. Unfollow. You still get to remain friends, so they'll never know. But literally, like, there's so many things. I get it every day in my office. So I'm sitting there, and one of the things like we have a gift for is helping kids function better. You know, the average office sees about 5% pediatrics, and I'm not here to convince you one way or the other, either way, but for perspective, and this is important, we see about 40% pediatrics. And I'll tell you this, it's much easier to raise a healthy child than it is to fix broken adults. But we have the last best hope cards played every day in our office. How many of you guys have had to play a last best hope? Like, this is my Hail Mary. How many of you guys know someone right now that needs a Hail Mary, right? So we have these things. And I will tell you, I sat down with a young kid yesterday, and he's 11. And he knows, and he's like, listen, I just wish I could sit still and focus. Like, my body it's just like I'm fighting. And he's aware of it, and he's a good kid. And I looked him right in the eye, and I go, listen, I'm never going to call you by the label that everybody else has given you. We don't have diagnoses in my office. We don't have labels. In fact, I want to encourage every one of you that start describing people or yourself by a problem. You have my permission to stop. You see, it's weird when you meet people and they're like, well, I have anxiety. Yeah, but you're not anxiety. You may have it, but don't you ever speak that that's who you are. Psychologists did a study one time, and they put two different groups of people in front of computers. And what they did is that they would have them look at pictures of attractive people. So probably all your pictures were on there, I'm just saying. But the two different groups, and so as they would look at the pictures, they told one group, all you can do is say, I can't, I shouldn't, I won't. And the other group, they would say when the attractive pictures came up, they would say, I don't. You see, there's an important difference because one was based on willpower. The other was based on identity. And so what happened after the study was done, they were leaving the room and there was 2 bowls of snacks. One on one side were really, really sugary snacks, like the unhealthy stuff, the stuff we crave at night. Like it was there. And the other table was healthy snacks, like protein, granola, whatever it was there. It was healthy choices. And you know what the amazing thing they found is that 83% of the people that went off willpower that said, I can't, I shouldn't, I won't, chose the bad snacks, chose the sugary ones. And nearly 80% of people who said, I don't, based on identity, they chose the healthy snacks. You see, there's so much self-talk going on, and I know this is different and maybe not what you expected, but this is what I came to deliver, is that what you think about yourself speaks so much more volume than what anybody else can ever put in your life. And you need to stop giving real estate up here to people who don't pay rent. Am I right? So I love this because in the history of this convention, I truly believe that karaoke is going to be the all-time best. We are going to have some empowered people. Some people who used to say that they can't, they won't, they shouldn't sing are probably going to be saying, I don't. But for the sake of karaoke, do. It's such a good feeling to know that you can get better, isn't it? How many times do we sit there and we think that, is it okay if I just get vulnerable and just talk to you guys for a second? Because I really freaked Joy out. I did. She goes, so how's your talk? And I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. I just got to finish writing it. That was like 30 minutes ago. True story. I got 2 pages, so I figured, we'll fill some time. I didn't write it yet. That's why there's no slides. You guys want to know what's so funny? They're like, send me your slides. I'm like, sure. But I never like to get cornered into anything because I want to get in the room. I want to talk to people. So I have 1 slide. It's a really nice slide. Like Barb liked it, right? I mean, it's a nice slide. So in my office, I love this. You know, we share a lot of stories. We share so many testimonies. Listen, if I were for a split second to believe what everybody told me going through school, all my teachers and my professors, and I'm not saying that I had bad ones. I'm saying people that were well-to-do, meaning people, speaking things into my life. If I were to believe everything they said, guys, there would be so many people not living their advantage life right now. You see, the advantage, literally the definition of an advantage is a state, circumstance, or opportunity that's favorable for your success. And it's different for every one of us in here. Like living your advantage life means making opportunities, taking action on you, your life, not anybody else's, not defining it by anybody else's terms. And so we get a lot of messages every day in our office, or whether it's Facebook, whatever it is that the underlying tone, and some people say it directly and others don't, but I can hear it in the words that I read. And it goes something like this. Dr. Jeff, that's cool, but I just don't think it's going to work for me. Like, I'm really glad that so-and-so is off of 3 antacids, no more anxiety medications, no longer needing ADHD medications. Like, I'm really glad for that person, and I believe it worked for them because I've heard the stories. I see the empty pill bottles. We see it. Like, you cannot go anywhere through our social media without running into crazy stories. But they just don't believe it's going to work for them. You guys got to start believing that you were made to be healthy. There's not a single brain cell in your body that tells you to be sick. There's not a single brain cell in your body that tells you to be tired, your kidneys to overwork, you to get less sleep, digestion to stop. Because the crazy thing about it, and like I said, I didn't want to go into chiropractic because so many people have a weird, good, bad, or otherwise experience. I tell my pastor all the time, when you tell people you're a pastor, they either run to you or run from you, the same way in chiropractic. It's either that or they're like this, oh, could you just, and I'm like, you were standing up fine 30 seconds ago. You're okay. Just saying. Okay, that was for me. Thank you for letting me share that. But it's time you start believing and taking action on your dreams, on your gifts, on your talents, and start speaking it. And don't let people come in your life and tell you that you can't do it because you don't have a sword in your hand. You know, the funny thing about this talk is the whole time the title's up there, what's in your hand? You know what the funny thing is? It's not about what's in your hand. It's about what you're speaking in your life. That's where the power is. So David, he comes out there and they're having their last words. And he's like, it's over. Goliath is like, it'll crush you. In my head, that's how he sounds. And David, he picked up 5 smooth stones. And it says in the Bible when it was come time, high noon, if you will, that David ran towards Goliath. He ran towards him. Didn't run to the side, didn't run backwards. He ran towards him. Last point. The truth stands taller than any giant you'll face. And remember, you may have to go down in through a valley. You may have to leave where you're right now and go to a lower place. You may have to reach out to that person and say, I'm sorry that I didn't handle that situation correctly. You may have to go into the valley and realize that you've got to face your giants head on to get to what you want on the other side. It's time we stop avoiding the facts based on feelings and start marching towards what we're promised. So he slings a stone. We all know the story. He slings a stone, sinks it in his forehead. Goliath topples like a ton of bricks, and they win the battle. He gets the riches. He gets the king's daughter, tax-free, goes on to become king. But you know what I love in this story is that there's so many things that we can learn and apply to us today. Why did David pick out 5 stones? You guys ever think about that? He said he picked up 5. Like at first when I went through it, I was like, well, maybe I'll miss. I don't know. Like, you'd hate to miss and then not have another stone. It says historically that Goliath had 4 other brothers. See, when you speak power and you speak life, you're prepared. And he was going to take out the whole tribe of Goliaths. So I pray this message reached you. I pray it touched you. I have zero clue on the time, but we're going to wrap it up there. I am out there. I wrote a book last year. If you would like a copy for granted. Like the weirdest thing about writing a book is then like, if people want to buy it, I'm like, well, that's weird. It just is. I don't know. How many of you wrote a book in here? It's just weird. Like my next book that comes out is titled Any Clown Can Write a Book. Like I'm pretty sure that's what it's going to be called. But I truly more than you getting a book, I'd love just to shake your hand and say thank you for being here. Thank you for being the people you are. Thank you for being so welcoming to me, a kid grew up on the sticks of Nebraska, to come up here on stage. And I always tell people I'm terrible with a hammer or a screwdriver, but if you give me the microphone, watch out. All right? So God bless you guys. Thank you.